Lord of Mysteries 2, Circle-of-Inevitability. Chapter 164, Intelligence. Salle de Balbrise, the cafe on the second floor. Lumian strolled over to Baron Brignaise with an air of nonchalance, and took a seat. Not only did he lack any sense of deference or humility, but he also showed a blatant disregard for basic politeness, as if they were equals. Louis, standing discreetly behind Baron Brignaise, silently shook his head. He had encountered many such individuals before, and their fate had always been the same, either handed over to the police by the Savoy mob or gravely wounded in a violent gunfight, losing their capabilities in the process. They had no choice but to become subservient, like dogs wagging their tails, in exchange for the gang's protection. Some met their demise due to various reasons, their bodies cast into the dark recesses of the underground world or packed into wooden barrels filled with stones and thrown into the depths of the Srenzo River. "Good evening, Baron," Lumian greeted with a disarming smile. Baron Brignaise betrayed no sign of anger on his face. He leisurely took a puff from his mahogany-colored pipe and casually inquired, "Where have you been this afternoon?" "Underground," Lumian responded, resembling the corpse that had imbibed the prophecy concoction. He answered the other party's questions without any elaboration. If Little Minx, Jenna, and Red Boots, Franca concealed the fact that he had dispatched the pervert and saved the former, his response would have been a display of utmost candor. Baron Brignaise appeared momentarily taken aback but refrained from further probing. As he rubbed the mahogany pipe in his hand, he calmly stated, "I have a task for you." Without waiting for Lumian to inquire, he explained with a smile, "I hold great expectations for you. I believe you can become a crucial member of our Savoy mob, entrusted with significant matters. However, my favorable opinion alone is insufficient. You must demonstrate strength that surpasses most and make contributions that garner their recognition." "A carrot dangling before a donkey?" Lumian scoffed inwardly. Outwardly, he deliberately narrowed his eyes. And what might this be about? Baron Brignaise set aside his mahogany pipe, took a sip of his coffee, and adopted a soothing tone as he spoke. "Assault any prominent member of the Poison Spur mob. It would be best if you inflict severe injuries. Killing them outright works too." Lumian chuckled. "Just 2 days ago, you cautioned me against causing a commotion and provoking an all-out conflict between the Poison Spur mob and us. Aren't you concerned that such actions might transpire, ultimately leading to you becoming a target of the police headquarters?" Although he had intended to lie in wait for the Poison Spur mob's hammer, 8, Lumian refused to be treated as a fool by Baron Brignaise. Baron Brignaise nodded, pleased with Lumian's astuteness. "You are far more intelligent than those who surround me. For the past 2 days, I've been closely observing the Poison Spur mob's reactions, and it seems they have no immediate plans for revenge against you." "What does that imply?" "It means they're terrified of our Savoy mob," Lumian replied with a jest. It was, of course, a jest. If the Poison Spur mob feared the Savoy mob, they would never have grown to become the second largest mob in Le Marché du Quartier du Gentleman. Baron Brignaise shook his head. In the past, they would have undoubtedly retaliated, exacting a higher toll than just medical expenses from our Savoy mob. Moreover, after Margot's demise, they merely put on a show on the surface. In reality, they took no actions that would attract the police's attention. It seemed they were searching for the true assassin amidst the chaos. These recurring anomalies lead me to believe that the Poison Spur mob is preparing for something significant, something very, very important. That's why they remain patient and restrained. I can't be certain whether their forthcoming actions will impact our Savoy mob, but we cannot idly wait for answers." "At least you're astute." Lumian grudgingly commended Baron Brignaise within his thoughts. With a smile, Lumian posed a question. "Are you suggesting that I eliminate their key members and observe their reactions?" "If they endure it without retaliation, it signifies a considerably grave problem. We would need to instigate a full-blown conflict and compel them to expose the issue, wouldn't we?" Baron Brignaise chuckled. "I enjoy conversing with clever individuals. So, are you willing to undertake this task?" Though his tone appeared inquisitive, His posture, gaze, and actions left no doubt that it was in order. Should Lumian refuse, the Savoy mob would withdraw its protection. Lumian chuckled. I require information on all the significant members of the Poison Spur mob, names, appearances, capabilities, distinguishing traits, and whether they have immediate family or spouses. Louis, who stood behind Baron Brignaise, was taken aback. Why is he asking about the family members of the Poison Spur mob leaders? Is he planning to use them? Among Trier's mobs, an unspoken rule prevailed, one that everyone abided by unless it was an exceptional circumstance: never target family members who weren't involved in the mob. Most individuals had parents, spouses, and children. If they were to abandon all moral boundaries and kill without hesitation, none would be spared. Everyone would be in jeopardy. Secondly, dealing with the families of low-ranking mobsters held no value. However, at Baron Brignaise's level, his family remained confidential, known to only a select few. Furthermore, they resided outside the Marquis du Quartier du Gentleman. Thirdly, those who held a certain status within the mob could be deemed ruthless. Threatening them with their families would only ignite their fury. Fourthly, the annihilation of a family would inevitably make headlines, angering the higher-ups at the police headquarters and triggering a severe crackdown. Thus, it was only in the process of eliminating a faction that they would confront the family of an enemy leader, avoiding the sowing of seeds of animosity and serving as a deterrent to other mobs. What was Seal's intention inquiring about the immediate family and wife of a crucial member of the Poison Spur mob? Baron Brignaise gazed at Lumian for a few moments before a slow smile crept across his face. The boss of the Poison Spur mob is Roger, known as Black Scorpion. He resides at 126 Avenue du Marquet. I'm uncertain if he has a wife or immediate family. Even if he does, they aren't in the Market District. They might not even be in Trier. He possesses sinister spells and magical powers. Even I wouldn't dare to confront him. Baron Brignaise seized the opportunity to caution Lumian about the formidable strength of Black Scorpion, Roger. It was wise to avoid any designs against him, for death would be the only outcome. Sinister spells. A Beyonder focused on spell casting? Considering Roger's ability to subdue Margot, he must be at least a sequence 7. He might even possess a mystical artifact or Beyonder weapon. If Beyonders of this caliber lack robust bodies or special light-preserving abilities, they may resort to traps, close-range assassinations, and other methods. If their bodies aren't weak and they excel in close combat, or if they possess a substitution spell like Leah's paper figurine, I'll have hardly any chance of victory. Unless I employ the luck enhancement spell to prearrange his misfortune and make him sufficiently unlucky. Lumian's thoughts raced like lightning, fleeting as they disappeared. He nodded and inquired, "What about the others?" Baron Brignaise took a leisurely puff on his pipe before responding. The Poison Spur mob once had 4 powerful and significant members who were slightly inferior to us in the Market District. However, after Margot's demise at your hands, his replacement, Wilson, is quite feeble. Their overall strength has greatly diminished. Roger's deputy, Baldy Harmon, is one of them. Initially, he and Roger arrived in the Market District, establishing the Salle de Grist Mill and gradually recruiting a group of individuals to form the Poison Spur mob. He's highly skilled in combat, on par with Margot in that regard. Additionally, he possesses peculiar abilities. For instance, he can withstand a blade and only suffer minor injuries. At times, he exhibits sudden bursts of violence, as if under the influence of some drug. He can instill fear in others. Oh, and he wields a knife coated with poison. He's exceedingly cruel. He doesn't have a family or a mistress, but he takes a keen interest in women. He often dallies with street girls under the Poison Spur mob. His usual residence is Black Scorpion Roger's house. When he seeks the company of a woman, he opts for a relatively clean motel or hotel within the Market District. Lumian listened attentively, gradually formulating a plan. There's a highly effective trap for Baldy Harmon. Regardless of how Harmon acquires such formidable defenses that only result in minor injuries after being slashed, it suggests a high probability that he's willing to trade injuries for victory. He relies heavily on his strengths in this aspect. If that's the case, I can provide him an opportunity. However, fallen Mercury will be the one to inflict those minor injuries upon him. Even minor wounds can bleed. Baron Brignaise continued. Most of the dancers under the poison sperm mob are under the supervision of Castina from Fainapotter. She was abducted to Trier and later became Black Scorpion Roger's mistress. Short-legged Candlestick was her nickname back when she worked as a dancer, owing to her relatively petite stature. Lumion envisioned a compact Candlestick and formed a rough image of Castina in his mind. Castina doesn't engage in frequent fights, but she exhibits remarkable combat skills when she does. She's cold and merciless when dealing with disobedient dancers. Perhaps she's forgotten the hardships she endured, Baron Brignaise remarked with a touch of gentlemanly courtesy. She resides in an apartment at 19 Rue du Rossignol. We're unsure of the specific floor or room she occupies. She often frequents Roger's house. What right do you have to speak of her like that? Why don't we discuss the person who became a singer at Salle de Bal Brise after her father was forced to die due to a debt? Lumion never believed that mobsters possessed a true conscience. No matter the camaraderie, loyalty, or care they exhibited toward their peers, they were merely wildflowers adorned with mud. They essentially sought out victims among the dancers, street girls, ordinary individuals persecuted by loan sharks, and the peddlers they extorted. Brignaise proceeded to introduce the final leader of the poison spur mob. Hammer 8 was originally a member of our Savoy mob. He possessed courage, intellect, and a sturdy physique. I held him in high regard and planned to recommend him to the boss. However, he betrayed us and joined the poison spur mob. He swiftly acquired Beyonder powers. I suspect he consumed a potion from the warrior pathway and has already reached sequence 8. His towering height, nearly 1.9 meters, and his conduct during conflicts lead me to this deduction. Hammer describes his fists, which possess the hardness and force of iron hammers. He typically fights unarmed, but he's also adept with a revolver and a dirk. He resides at 25 Rue de Paves, adjacent to Le Marquet du Quartier du Gentleman. There is a sizable contingent of poison spur mob members in that area. Pugilist? Will Beyonder characteristics manifest upon his demise? Lumion nodded and queried Baron Brignaise. I also require their approximate travel patterns. Additionally, provide me with a revolver, an ample supply of bullets, and a portable weapon. A dirk, dagger, bayonet, or axe will suffice. No problem. I'll have Louis deliver them to you tomorrow morning. Baron Brignaise nodded with satisfaction. After observing Seal depart from the café, Louis lowered his voice and inquired, Baron, are we truly going to let him confront the leaders of the poison spur mob? Baron Brignaise chuckled. Didn't you hear my explanation earlier? I didn't deceive him about this. However, the leaders of the poison spur mob are not easily dealt with. Whether he struggles and requires our aid and protection afterward, or if he fails and finds himself on the brink of death, we can crush his arrogance and make him obedient.